Bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. What is up, y'all? Philly Fly Show checking in here, kicking in at Right Way Production Studios, and we are finally back from our little 2-week layoff. We did have a UFC card last week, but unfortunately, I didn't really make a video at all because it started at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I knew when I made the last one, I didn't even get up to watch it, so I wasn't going to make a show that I wasn't going to watch. I ended up re-watching it later in the day, but totally not one of those cards that I wanted to bet on. I have some paperwork over here, so I was looking for. Yeah. Haven't seen you guys since Arnold Allen and Miguel Costa. Now, that fight was unfortunate for Costa and me on the picks, but, you know, we're not going to do a recap on that since it was 2 weeks ago. We're kind of just going to jump into it here because in 1 week from, well, not really 1 week. Well, it's a little over 1 week. A little over 1 week from now, we get Freedom 250, which is fire. Besides that, they won't let Sean Strickland sit in the audience. Unfortunate events there because of that whole thing. But, you know, Philly Fly Show's got a great show here. We're going to have a quick warm-up week before big old Freedom 250. Now, next week's show, I will say this before we start, it is probably going to come out on Tuesday. I don't have a choice, really. It has to happen on Tuesday or the show doesn't happen because Freedom 250 is on Sunday. I go on vacation on Wednesday. I have to have that done on Tuesday for everybody. So I'm actually going to start working on that one right after I finish this. I'm going to be writing out my whole formula here on how I pick fights. So that'll be fun. The UFC Fight Night, Belal Muhammad versus Gabriel Bonfim is the main event for this Saturday. And what this show is about, it's a 12-leg card. Let's jump into it really quick. We'll start with the women's strawweight division. Match league number 12, we got Caitlin Souza versus Ariane Carnelcioli. Now, Ariane, she's plus 230 underdog, whereas Caitlin's a negative 310 favorite over there. Both these girls have what it takes to be in the UFC, but they both have had some slouches here. Carnelcioli, I cannot talk today. I was trying to say fish whistle earlier and I could not say it. Carnelcioli, being the plus 230, she's just come up short in the beginning of her career and now she's kind of plateaued where she's going up and down. Caitlin Souza came out on fire and now is on a little bit of a loose streak here. So we got Caitlin's 3-2 in her last 5, 3-3 in the UFC, coming off a decision win. So her 2 losses were right before then is what I'm thinking of. And then her counterpart in Carnelcioli, she's 3-2 in her last 5, 3-3 in the UFC, just like her counterpart, but she's coming off a submission loss to a girl I thought she was going to beat. Now, I really like Souza in this fight, and I'm picking Souza. I just don't like the odds. Why 310? I feel like this should be more of a negative 160, negative 170, but it means the money's coming in hot in Souza. She gets her hand raised on Saturday. 1 out of 5 in the comments, so she can get her hand raised. We'll jump to match leg number 11 here. We get Gisela Chavez versus Eunice Dubin. Now, this is a women's flyweight fight. Chavez is coming into the UFC with a crazy record. She is a negative 430 favorite. She is 5-0 in her last 5, making her UFC debut and a 7-0 fighter. So it's going to be hard to defeat someone that's 7-0. Her counterpart on the other side ain't no slouch, but she also has not got that type of record. She's 4-1 in her last 5, 0-1 in the UFC, coming off a KO loss. She had hype around her coming in Dubin, but hasn't showed it. They're being the plus 300. I do not see her winning. I feel like Chavez is going to be way too much for her. She's way too well-rounded. Good striking, good grappling. Cardio's all there. It's just a perfect first fight for her to come into the UFC and make a name. All right, match league number 10. 3 out of 5 in the comments, although Chavez does get her hand raised. Match league number 10 here. Featherweight bout. Going into the male division after starting off with 2 female fights, we had Jordan Leavitt versus Johanderson Brito. Now, Brito's a negative 194 favorite, whereas Leavitt's a plus 150 underdog. If you don't know who Leavitt is, he's the weirdo who twerks in the ring after he wins a fight, and he's just a weirdo. So, if you like weirdos in the UFC, you'll be rooting for him. I'm telling you right now, you can already see why I'm going on this. I can't wait to see him get knocked out on Saturday. Brito, though, that dude's gas tank is not at the top level. That is something I hope he worked on from his last fight, because Leavitt's gas tank is decent. Leavitt, though, striking for me is where it's like, it's a little cringe on there. If it got a little crisper, you'd be all right, because he's got great grappling. Great grappling, but striking, no. Brito's got good striking and power and decent grappling, but there's no gas tank there, so it's a hard side to pick. Leavitt being 3-2 in his last 5, 6-3 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight win streak, but we've seen that come to a close before on his win streak. So his counterpart in Brito's 3-2 in his last 5, just like him. 6-3, or no, hold on, 2-3. Hold on, 3-2 in his last 5, 6-3 in the UFC, just like his counterpart. He is not got 2 win streak, though. He's only coming off a decision win against another prospect. So he got a win back in his belt back after he got beat up by somebody he shouldn't have. I'm picking Brito, but I am confident on it, but I'm not confident against Leavitt. Leavitt has upset me before, so getting a little doubt here as I'm looking at it, but Leavitt's just not that type of fighter. I'm hoping Brito worked on his gas tank, and he gets his hand raised. 3 out of 5 on the comp, so he gets his hand raised. All right, match like number 9. Jump back into the female division. Bantamweight fight. Priscilla Cochea versus Chelsea Chandler. Now, Chelsea's a -130 favorite. Cochea is a +102 underdog. Look, man, Cochea can win this fight. She just needs to put it on somebody. Instead of just looking for a counter the whole time, if she doesn't walk forward and do something, she's going to lose this fight. Priscilla, she is 1-4 in her last 5. 5-8 in the UFC, and on a 2-fight lose streak. And in those 2 fights, like I said, she has not walked forward. She has just sat there on her back feet and tried to do a counter. Has not worked for her. So if she doesn't walk forward, she's not getting a win. Her counterpart's 2-3 in her last 5. 2-3 in the UFC, and on a 2-fight lose streak. Yeah, Chelsea, just to me, I just don't know if she's got it to compete with these top girls. The problem is the girl she's fighting has just been on a downfall, and I just don't know who's going to win. I'm going to take the underdog. I'm only confident in this is because Chelsea walks with her chin just straight up. She's not got the head movement. She's not in there to fight like that. She's more of a I'll strike with you to get you to the ground type person, just so she's not one-sided trying to get to the ground. Cochea can defend and's got the counters. That's why I'm going to go with her, but it's not a very confident level. 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. She gets her hand raised. Match like number 8, flyweight male division fight. Bruno Silva, Edgar Chairez. Now, Edgar is a +102 or 104 underdog. Bruno -132 favorite. Don't know how the favorite is Bruno. Only way I can see that again is if money's coming on him like crazy. Edgar should definitely be the favorite. He is the better fighter. Bruno's been in some brawls, but just not up there for me. Not at all. So I'm picking Edgar here. Bruno, though, he is 2-3 in his last 5. He's 5-1 in the UFC. He's coming off a decision loss to Charles Johnson. And in that fight, Charles kind of got gifted a win there. Bruno might have edged him out just barely, but Charles did not look that good in that fight. So Bruno didn't look that good either. So not very confident level there. And then his counterpart, Edgar, is 3-1 in his last 5, 3-2-1 in the UFC, and he's on a 2-fight win streak. So pretty confident on Shire getting the win, but I'm only going to do 1 out of 5 because Bruno is a UFC vet, so he might be able to put it on him, but I just don't see it happening. Match like number 7 here is our feature prelim bout of the night. We'll stay in the male division. Bantamweight fight between Marcus McGee and John Yanis. Now, I'm super excited for this fight, only on one side. I'm not a big John Yanis guy. He did get a KO win in his last fight. I think that if I have that right here. Yes, he did. Marcus, -520 favorite. John, +350. Marcus, 4-1 in his last 5. 4-1 in the UFC in his 5 fights. He's coming off a decision loss against Petr Yan, and we've seen what Petr did to our good boy Merab. That is a fight rematch I can't wait for. But Marcus McGee losing to the current champion right now, not upset at that one at all. That was his first ranked fight too. I'm pretty sure it could have been second, but I'm pretty sure it was his first ranked fight. John Yanis, like I said, he's 4-1 in his last 5, like his counterpart. 1-1 in the UFC and coming off a KO win. The guy he KO'd was a prospect, so fighting a guy at the level of what Marcus McGee is, not a good matchup for Giannis, and that's why the odds are the way they are. Picking Marcus to get a win here, 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He gets his hand raised. Jump to the main card here. Match leg number 6 is a catchweight bout, and I couldn't even get what the catchweight is. So these guys typically fight at featherweight, if I'm not mistaken. Bantamweight or featherweight. So catchweight, I'm going to guess it's 140, but I could be wrong on that. So we're just going to stick with catchweight. Matt Schnell versus Alessandro Costa. Alessandro Costa -900. Matt Schnell +520. Look, man, Matt Schnell used to be able to beat people, but in his last couple fights, I've not been a big fan of what I've been seeing. Might be time to hang him up, unfortunately, for that guy. He's 1-4 in his last 5, 7-8-1 in the UFC, coming off a submission loss. His counterpart is 3-2 in his last 5, 3-3 in the UFC, and coming off a KO win. Yo, Costa's good, but that gas tank is something that he just needs to work on in the UFC. For him, it just seems like he tries to do too much on whatever side he feels like he's better on than the other guy, and it just gasses him out every fight. Matt Schnell could take control of that, but his issue is he doesn't have the head movement, and it doesn't seem like he has the wherewithal to defend himself with the head movement. So if you're going to stand and strike with him, which I think Costa's going to do, Costa's going to put him out pretty badly. I'm not confident on it only because of Costa's gas tank, so I'm only putting a 1 out of 5 on the confidence level there. I don't even think I did. But it's just the way it is, man. Sometimes when you've got to prove yourself to me in the UFC, I'm not going to be very confident, even when you're a -900 favorite. So, all right, jump to the light heavyweight division. For the rest of the card, it's all male fights. So, light heavyweight division, we got Iwo Baranowski versus Junior Tafa. Tafa's a +280 underdog. Iwo is a -390 favorite. Iwo is 5-0 in his last 5, 2-0 in the UFC, and an 8-0 fighter. So he has not lost, has not learned what a loss is yet. The UFC has thrown him some bag of bones, if you want to call it, in this last, well, this will be his 3rd one, because I am not a big fan of Junior Tafa. Yeah, you can say he's looked better at light heavyweight than he has when he was at heavyweight. My problem with him is he just he'll take a shot to give a shot, and he does it against the wrong dudes, and they put him out. So I'm not a very big fan of Tafa's. Like I said, Tafa's 2-3 in his last 5, 3-5 in the UFC. He is coming off a KO win like less than a month ago in his home country, but you know what? It's not big one for me. Iwo is going to get the win, 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He gets his hand raised. Now, match like number 4 here is a bantamweight male division fight between Bryce Mitchell and Santiago Luna. Santiago's a +114 underdog, whereas Bryce Mitchell's a -146 favorite. Bryce is 3-2 in his last 5, 9-3 in the UFC, and coming off a decision win against Said Nurmagomedov, where he was gifted a win. I did not think he won, but I did pick him to win, so I was happy that he got gifted the win, and I remember it was on one of my bet slips, so it's good there, but it just wasn't that good in the end on that bet slip. But Santiago is, let me make sure I got this right, 5-0 in his last 5, 2-0 in the UFC, and he is an 8-0 undefeated fighter. Hasn't snuffed a loss yet. Bryce is a tough guy on grappling, but that striking it needs improvement there. So I'm going Santiago because he's way more well-rounded, and Bryce just, to me, hasn't showed that he's back to the form. I do like that he went to bantamweight because I thought he was small at featherweight, but I just wish he would get a little stronger. Maybe he does now that he's got a couple weight cuts into this bantamweight thing, and he seemed a lot more confident in his press conference. So it's going to be cool to see what's going on there. But I'm picking Luna to win. I'm only 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. He gets his hand raised. So match like number 3 here is a lightweight male division fight between Faris Ziam and Tom Nolan. Tom's a +235 underdog, whereas Faris is a -320 favorite. Look, man, Faris is really, really good. He's got a couple losses in the UFC where I think he should have won. The thing I don't like about this fight is Tom is a good counter striker and with power. Zaim, more of a great striker, could knock you out. It's not great power like Tom, but he's just such a good striker that he'll just outpoint you and you won't be able to win the fight. Fariz is 5-0 in his last 5, 8-2 in the UFC. He's on a 6-fight win streak, so that's a lot of confidence, a lot of skill behind that, and his wins there. He had so many wins that I couldn't even list them off here on my small sheet of paper against good guys. So at least 3 or 4 of those 6 wins were better than they're at least high-end prospects. His counterpart, though, he is 4-1 in his last 5, 4-1 in the UFC, and on a 4-fight win streak. So he loses his first fight and goes on a 4-fight win streak and a tear. He's got some good names behind his belt, too. This is going to be a very, very good fight, but I'm picking Zaim. I just think that Tom's not going to be able to get that counter strike to knock him out. I think Zaim's head defense and the way he strikes and puts the points on you and does a point fight, that's what's going to get him a win. I don't see him getting a knockout, but like I said, he's got those type of strikes where if he lands a perfect shot, you're going out, but he ain't got that. He ain't got that power behind his hands like Tom does. But Fariseem gets a win. 1 out of 5 on a confidence level. Heat gets his hand raised. Match like number 2, co-main event of the evening. Middleweight bout between Brendan Allen and Edmund Shabazian. This is a good fight, y'all. Edmund Shabazian is a plus 190 underdog. Brendan, negative 250 favorite. Look, man, Brendan is a beast, dude. But sometimes in some of these better fighters, he comes up short. I do not think Edmund is the better fighter. I think Edmund had a lot of hype behind him, and it got a little overhype. And then he went on that lose streak. Now he's got some wins under his belt, and he's looked better. But he's a young guy, too, so he might be growing into that. Brendan, he's very, very well-rounded. Good grappler, good striker, great gas tank, got power. He's got it all. He's literally got it all. He's just got to put it together and make a title run here. Brendan is 3-2 in his last 5, 14-4 in the UFC, on a 2-fight win streak with wins over Vettori, which is not the greatest win, but it's a good win because Vettori is like a big talker and everyone thinks he's really good when he's really not. And then De Ridder, and De Ridder might be on a slouch, but De Ridder is a beast. So that is not a bad win. That's a good win there. His counterpart is 4-1 in his last 5, 9-5 in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak. But just look, guys, he has 5 losses under his belt. Coming into the UFC, I think he was undefeated or close to undefeated. Was like Ronda Rousey's training partner, and everyone really liked him. He just had a lot of hype behind him. Brendan is the favorite for a reason. Take that negative 250, cash it to the bank, and put it on your parlay slips. 3 out of 5 on a confidence level. He can get his hand raised. Now, main event of the evening, boys and girls, cats and dogs. Dogson over here. Welterweight bout between former champion Belal Muhammad and Gabriel Bonfim. Bonfim plus 102. Belal Muhammad negative 130. These odds have not changed from last night. Some of these odds that I have put out, because I put the numbers together last night, they're up and down a little bit. So you will see a little bit of different numbers depending if you use FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever site you actually use. But these are the ones I got last night. But these two specifically haven't changed from what I looked just a little bit ago, when I was throwing together a parlay for the Joe Money Show, which you should listen to those shorts, because them have been making some major bank for people. But Belal Muhammad, I didn't get the rankings on these guys. I should have got the rankings. I should have looked them up, but I totally spaced them out. So it's a good thing when I said I had a little warm-up week before good old Freedom 250 next week. Belal Muhammad, though, 3-2 in his last 5, 15-5-1 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight lose streak. One of them is a title loss, but we're not going to hold that against him because he ended up getting the title, winning it, and I think he defended it once, too. So I'll give him those props. Bonfim, 4-1 in his last 5, 6-1 in the UFC. He's on a 4-fight win streak. His last win was a big KO against Randy Brown, and that was a big, big KO. If Belal wants to win this fight, he's going to have good hands and good striking, because Bonfim is so well-rounded that he doesn't just stick to one thing. He wanted to work on his striking against one of these guys that in this 4-fight win streak, and he's talked about how his striking was lacking and he needed to work on it. In that fight, he literally noticed that he could just go in and get this takedown and pretty much finish the fight from there. And he still did it, which after you tell everyone you're going to sit there and stand and strike and you go in for the takedown, do it. That's just knowing who you are and winning the fight. Now, against Belal, if they grapple, I think Bonfim is just as good as Belal at grappling. You can argue against it, but I'm telling you right now, from the tape that I watched, Gabriel's just as good as Belal. Where, like I said, Belal's going to have to win this is up against the cage and landing strikes. It's what he's not the greatest at. His counterpart, Gabriel, great at all of that. And the gas tank is just there. This might be his first five. Actually, it might be a second 5-round fight, but I don't think it even came close to going the 5 rounds. But if this goes 5 rounds, a little bit of that advantage is going to be Belal because he's been in a 5-round fight. It's not going 5 rounds because Gabriel's going to put it on him. Going to put the lights out on Belal, and I'm calling it here. I'm calling my shot. If you want to get sweet odds and do a single pick Gabriel Bonfim to get a KO over Belal. Forget the name, Muhammad. Had to take a shot at Belal because you know y'all, I'm a little bit of a Belal hater. But this Philly Fly show went way too long for a small show like this, small card. But we'll see y'all next week for Freedom 250.